Welcome. Kira's here.
Hey,
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah,
What's up, brother?
what's up?
How you feeling this morning? Glad you were able to
Huh.
make it in. What am I doing? All right. Sending a reminder out now, my friends. Hopefully, we get a few more people in here. We'll give it a few more minutes, as always. Good to see everybody today. Hope everyone's doing well. Kira, how you doing today? Good? Hey, Shirley, good morning to you. How are you doing today, Shirley? Good? Hey, Salam, good morning. Good morning. Kian, Amir, good. Welcome, everyone. Right now, we'll give it maybe one more minute. See if we get anybody else logged on. I'll send out one last reminder. Right on. Good morning again. Welcome to everybody out there. I hope you're all doing well. Having a good morning so far on this beautiful but chilly Tuesday. Hope we enjoy the nice day today since we're supposed to get some snow tomorrow. All right. As you can see today, I know this says Monday, Thursday, but it is indeed Tuesday, Friday. All right. We are talking about POV today, which is point of view. Um, do a little workshop on that today, since that's what our checkpoint one is going to focus on, which we're going to start hopefully on Friday if all goes well today. So our goal is going to be to understand and analyze the different points of view in a story and their effect. Okay, specifically understanding the three different types of points of view. All right. So that's kind of what we are talking about today. I see we have one person joining us. Good morning, Relisha. Welcome to you. All right. So, ladies and gents, for our do now this morning, what I would like you to do is this, right? Looking at this picture right here, okay? Tell me in the chat what type of point of view do you think is represented here in this picture? First person, second person, or third person? Okay. So take a minute or two and then tell me in the chat what type of point of view do you think we have represented here in this picture. You can write A, B, or C. You can write first, second, or third person, whatever you feel comfortable with. But please tell me in the chat what type of point of view do you think is represented here in this picture. Okay. Take a minute or two to do that now, please. Thank you very much. All right. Good morning to those of you who just joined. Welcome.
That scared me. I thought my phone was like transporting like images to the computer at first because I was just looking on YouTube watching Call of Duty.
Funny stuff. Right. Well, then you should be able to answer this question, no problem. Then, again, welcome to Emmanuel as well. I see you joined. So, ladies and gents, we're talking about point of view today. This is our do now. What type of point of view do we have represented here in this picture? I know I have some Call of Duty experts in class this morning, so I should definitely see answers from you. But tell me in the chat, is this first person, second person, or third person? All right, we'll give everybody about another minute, minute and a half. If you still haven't typed it in the
Wait,
chat.
you want me to type it or say it?
Yeah, no, you can just type it. So that way I can see what everybody thinks. All right. Thank you guys. About another minute with this. All right, let's see what we got here in the chat. All right, lots of good stuff here. Awesome. So I see most of us are saying first person, which is correct. Few of us said, Amir said one. First, yeah. Few of us said something different, but that's okay. We're going to try and figure out the difference. But yes, if you said first person, you are correct. So those of us who said first person, how do we know that it's first person? What gives it away here that it's first person? You can tell me in the chat. You can come off mute if that's easier, but it is first person, yes. But how do we know that? Those of you who said first person, what gave it away? What tipped you off? Morning, Tahira. Welcome. Naima is with us. Excellent.
The picture?
Yeah. You can't see the whole body, so it wouldn't be third. You see hands, you would be in the head's perspective. Yeah, that's exactly right, Keon.
I was about to say like a head camera or something like that.
Yeah, almost like as if you were wearing a GoPro or something, right?
Yeah. Yep. There you go. GoPro.
Yeah. So you guys are both right on the money. Keon said, meaning you are the person in the picture. Yeah, exactly. So, you are the person in the picture, to use Keon's phrase. You are the person, holding the gun. So it's as if you're actually in there. So it's from your, to use the word Keon used, perspective, which is the key here. So just like we have a point of view here in Call of Duty or Splinter Cell or whatever it is, Apex Legends, there's point of views in what we read in literature and how stories are told, how they're narrated. That's what we're going to try and dive into today. So let's do just that. Really good job with that. Welcome everybody again. Let me take a second, get my attendance together. I hope everybody's doing well. While we're doing this, just a few quick reminders. Remember that progress reports, second progress report is coming out this week, probably tomorrow. So make sure you are on the lookout for that. It'll be in your Yes Philly email from your mentor teacher. All right. And don't forget that we still have school next week. Our last day is next Wednesday, so we'll probably have mentoring in the morning, and then you guys will be done. Probably no afternoon classes. All right. All right, ladies and gents. So, like I said, we are talking about point of view, not just in video games, but in literature today as well. So when we say what is point of view is the angle of considering things, which shows us the opinions or feelings of the individuals involved in a situation. So much like in the picture, it was coming from the angle of the person holding the gun to put us, to show us the thoughts and emotions and feelings of that actual person. We can do the same thing in literature, because point of view is the mode of narration that an author employs to let the readers hear and see what takes place in a poem, story, or essay. So we're hearing and seeing what's going on, but sometimes the perspective from which we are doing those things can change, right? Because we know that we have three major types of perspective, of point of view. And like our options in the do now, they are first person, second person, and third person. So the biggest key here in determining, what point of view something is being told from is going to be the pronouns that we see. Oh, excuse me. All right. So like you can see in first person, we have pronouns like I, me, we, myself. All right. So that would be where, a character is telling their own story, right? In second person, this is a little bit uncommon in narratives, but that's where we would see pronoun like you. So the example of like second person would be you are talking to your friend, you're trying to remember what happened last night, And so say, yeah, like you maybe start out first person, like, yeah, remember we went out to dinner and then we came back and we weren't sure what was going on, and then you heard the door slam. As soon as you say you heard the door slam, now you're switching to second person because you're telling that person what happened from their own point of view. So that would be second person. All right. And then lastly would be third person. Okay. This is going to be another one of the most common ones. So we would have pronouns like she, he, they, or it. And our example here would be Lupe heard the door slam. So I'm using the person's full name because I'm kind of like describing, what I'm seeing as I see it. All right. Now, like I said, the most common ones in literature are going to be first person and third person. So let's take just first person before we kind of look at some examples of these. Are there any stories, books, movies that you guys have read, can remember, that were told in first person? You can tell me in the chat. You can come off mute if that's easier. But any examples of a first person book or story that you remember? And I'll put that in the chat as well in case we missed it. But what are some examples of stories told from first person that you can think of? So anything you've read or that you've heard about or you remember reading in another class that was told from the first person? Anything that comes to mind? And sorry, you can disregard the first part that I put in the chat. That was meant to go to somebody privately. My apologize. Okay. But anybody who can remember a story that they read, book they've read, movie they've seen that was narrated in first person. Anything come to mind? I'm thinking about one. If you're stumped, I'm thinking about one specifically that you may have read in class with me last year that is also a very popular movie franchise as well. Anybody know what I might be hinting at? What story I might be referring to that's told in the first person from a specific character's point of view? And again, you can tell me in the chat. You can come off mute. Any thoughts, any examples come to mind of stories that are told in the first person?
In my in my English class, we reading a book called Persepolis.
What's it called?
Persepolis.
Persepolis. Is that what Miss Christine is doing right now?
Yep, and it's like the author is really telling like her childhood story. So
So it's in first person?
yep, like she's the author of the book, but it's really like it's a true story. Like she telling her childhood story.
Okay. And she's using pronouns like I and we and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's what gives it away. So good example. The other one I was thinking of was, I'll put it in the chat too, was Hunger Games, right? So if you had me last year when we read Hunger Games, that is also told in the first person because it's from Katniss's point of view. So Katniss is detailing the events of the story as they unfold. So that'd be another popular first person one, all right? What about third person? Okay. Any examples that come to mind that are narrated in third person? Okay. Because that's what we're going to talk about on the next slides. So any stories that you've read, that you are reading, that you remember, that are told from the third person perspective? Anything that comes to mind? Again, you can put it in the chat. You can come off mute. But anybody with a third person story that they remember that's told from the third person? No third person examples that come to mind. Do I have any Harry Potter fans out there this morning? Do we think that is told in the third person, maybe? Yes, no?
I don't read it, but probably.
Yeah, it definitely is. All right. And we're actually going to talk about it a little bit more in detail in one of our examples because, but yeah, Harry Potter would be third person. Sorry, other third person examples that come to my mind off the top of my head would be maybe if you remember, if you had me for class and we read that book, Dear Martin, that would be another third person perspective. Okay. But the reason why we're going to talk about Harry Potter is because it's a good example of one of the two types of third person narration that we have. Because there are two different kinds of third person narration that we always want to look at. So, does anybody know what one of them or both of them are just off the top of their head before we look at some examples? Anybody know what I'm talking about? Has heard of any of this before? Different types of third person narration or third person point of view? Anybody that's heard of or has a guess on what I'm thinking of or what we're talking about when we talk about different types of third person narration? Anybody that's heard of that before? And if not, that's okay because that's what we're going to talk about next. All right, so what we mean is we have two different kinds of third person point of view, omniscient and limited. The first one we'll talk about is third person omniscient, which means the third person omniscient point of view is presented from the perspective of an all knowing narrator. This narrator knows what the characters, and again, we're using the pronouns he, she, they, it, what they are. Question? Right? So we know what those characters are doing as well as what they are thinking and feeling, right? So those of you who said, yeah, Harry Potter is third person, think about this definition and think about why, you knew it was third person. Okay, because we know what Harry's thinking and feeling all the time, things like that, right? So in a third person omniscient, we would know not just about one character, but about every character's thoughts and feelings. So here is a good example of that. This comes from Lord of the Rings, right? A few creatures came and looked at them when the fire had died away. A fox passing through the wood on business of his own stopped several minutes and sniffed. Hobbits, he thought. Well, what next? I have heard of strange doings in this land, but I have seldom heard of a hobbit sleeping out of doors under a tree. 3 of them. There's something mighty queer behind this. He was quite right, but he never found out any more about it. Okay? So what are the things in this example that tell me this is a third person omniscient point of view? Right? If we look at our definition over here again, right? All-knowing narrator, the narrator knows what the characters are doing as well as what they are thinking and feeling. What are the things in this example over here that tell me it's third person omniscient? Okay, think about that. I'll read it one more time again. Few creatures came and looked at them when the fire had died away. A fox passing through the wood on business of his own stopped several minutes and sniffed. Hobbits, he thought. Well, what next? I have heard of strange doings in this land, but I have seldom heard of a hobbit sleeping out of doors under a tree. 3 of them. There's something mighty queer behind this. He was quite right, but he never found out any more about it. Okay. So what are the things in this example that tell me, okay, yes, this is third person omniscient point of view? You tell me in the chat. Tell me. Oh, we already got a few there. Hobbits, he thought. Exactly. Good job, Salam. Yeah, we know. So Salam's talking about this line right here. So we know not only what the fox is doing, but what he's thinking as well. All right. And then we also know when at the end here it says he was quite right, but he never found out any more about it. We also know what happens in the future, right? So omniscient, all-knowing, we know what the characters are doing, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, right? Not just the main characters, but even, this little fox that's passing by, right? Good job. Here is, speaking of our Harry Potter fans, here is our next example, and this would be third person limited, okay? So third person limited omniscient or third person limited would be the limited point of view presented from the perspective of an all-knowing narrator who knows about only a few characters rather than all of them. Excuse me. This narrator knows what the few select characters are doing as well as what they are thinking and feeling. All right, so the difference here is that we only know what some characters are thinking and feeling, not every single one, like we saw in this example, okay? All right, so looking at our example here from Harry Potter, let's try and think about, okay, who are the characters that we know about, that we know their thoughts and feelings, and who are the characters that we don't, and maybe we can figure out, why this is third person limited, right? Harry had taken up his place at wizard school, where he and his Scar were famous. But now the school year was over, and he was back with the Dursleys for the summer, back to being treated like a dog that had rolled in something smelly. The Dursleys hadn't even remembered that today happened to be Harry's 12th birthday. Of course, his hopes hadn't been high. Right? So, how do we know this is third person limited? Which character do we know the thoughts and feelings of, and which character do we not? How can we tell this is third person limited here? Any thoughts on that? All right, we do have the pronoun his, so yes, Salam, that would tip us off that it's third person. All right, and who is that his referring to? Which character's thoughts and feelings do we know, and which character's thoughts and feelings do we not know? Because that's the difference in third person limited and third person omniscient. Yeah, exactly right, Harry. So we know Harry's thoughts and feelings. Whose feelings do we not know then? Who are the I mean, obviously it's process of elimination because there's only one other set of characters mentioned, but if we know Harry's thoughts and feelings, whose thoughts and feelings do we not know then in that example? The Dursleys is exactly right. Good job. Yeah. So we know, like it says, Harry had taken up his place. He was back to being treated like a dog and was something smelly. His hopes hadn't been high, so we definitely know what he's thinking and feeling. But we say the Dursleys hadn't even remembered that today happened to be Harry's 12th birthday. So she's telling us that they don't remember this, right? So here's my next question is, if we wanted to then make this third person omniscient, if we wanted to take it from limited to omniscient, what would we have to change? How could we make this different to make it third person omniscient rather than limited? What would we have to change? And Salam is killing it, but if there's anyone we haven't heard from in a while or at all yet this morning, I would love to hear from you. So if we have any brave souls out there who also want to volunteer and answer. So how would I, if I wanted to make this, so this is third person limited right now, because we said we only know Harry's thoughts and feelings. We don't know the Dursleys, okay? But if I wanted to make it third person omniscient, how would I change it? What could I do?
Tell the other characters thoughts and feelings.
Exactly right. Yeah. So I would have to tell the Dursleys' thoughts and feelings. So I would maybe say something like, I would say all that stuff about Harry, and then I could say, the Dursleys didn't remember that it was his birthday today, or they knew and they didn't care, or something like that. But I would tell the reader, what the Dursleys knew, what they were thinking, rather than telling the reader, the Dursleys don't know this, the Dursleys don't remember this, so the reader, doesn't know what their thoughts and feelings are. Okay, that's how I would change it, because the third person omniscient knows everybody's thoughts and feelings. All right, good job. So as we analyze and describe different points of view, like when we're looking at it in checkpoint 1, like we're going to do on Friday, or just in general, before we begin writing an analysis, it's always important to consider the text as a whole, meaning look at the whole story, not just the part we're analyzing. Okay? So consider the main idea, the audience, the author, the characters involved, and then consider these questions. And I'll put these questions back up periodically as we continue to look at different points of view, right? But we want to look at who is the speaker, right? So who's talking? Is a character speaking, or is it, a outside narrator, right? So do we have like the Hunger Games, where it's Katniss telling the story herself, or is it like Harry Potter, where it's an outside person telling us the story? All right. Who is the audience? All right. What type of source is this? Is this a book? Is it a poem? Is it a essay? Whatever it is. All right. All right. What is the source and speaker's purpose? Okay. So is this like a persuasive speech that would come from, a first person point of view? Is it a narrative story that might be third person? All right. What's the speaker's point of view? What words and phrases does the speaker use to convey the point of view? So this is where we want to look for specific pronouns. Like, are they using he, she, they, I, we? Okay. How does the point of view or purpose of the source connect back to my topic sentence? So if I'm analyzing something, right, how do I make sure that whatever my topic sentence is in my analysis, connects to the point of view of the story? Right? How's the point of view in this source different from the point of view in others? So sometimes we're comparing and contrasting like we just did. Okay, we have third person omniscient versus third person limited. What would we change, right, to get one to be the other, or vice versa? And does the point of view have any limitations? Again, like we just looked at, like, okay, we only know Harry's point of view. We don't know the point of view of the Dursleys, right? So that's what we would want to focus on, okay? Now here is my last kind of point of view question before we wrap up with this part for today, and I'll put this in the chat as well. Okay. So those of you who have been in class with us, we've been reading our story, our novel, Homegoing. Okay. So then what I want to ask everybody now is, what point of view is our story, Homegoing, told from? Oh, excuse me. I am yawning all over the place this morning. So those of you who have been in class with us, who've been following along with our story, Homegoing, right? What point of view is that story told from? Any thoughts, any guesses?
Third.
Definitely is third, yes. All right. Do we know which type of third person?
And then like omnis, what, how you pronounce it?
Omniscient?
Uh-huh.
Yes. That is absolutely right. That is absolutely right, Kira. Good job. How did you know that, Kira? How could you tell?
Because throughout the story, you hear from how her mom felt about what's her name, getting married. I forget her name. Yeah, you hear about how the chief feel about towards Effia. You hear how the what's the other guy she was married?
Abiku, Kobe,
Yeah,
yeah.
you hear it from a point of view from everybody.
Absolutely right. Really great job. And I'll show that real quick, just in case anybody wasn't couldn't quite hear or hasn't been here and is following along. But here's a good example of what Kira was just talking about. She's saying not only do we know how Effia feels about everything, but we've also learned how other characters feel about her getting married and all this stuff. So if we look at this excerpt from the sort of beginning of chapter 1, all right? His name was James Collins, and he was the newly appointed governor of the Cape Coast Castle. Within a week, he had come back to the village to ask Baba for Effia's hand in marriage. Kobe's rage at the proposal filled every room like hot steam. She's all but promised to Abiku, he yelled at Baba when Baba told him that she was considering the offer, right? And so just like Salam told us, we can see not only do we know how Effie is feeling, but we also get how Kobe's feeling, Kobe's rage at the proposal, right? We learn a little bit about James Collins, okay? And we get, his kind of point of view. We know what he does, right? And if you keep going, if you remember, if you were following along, we see a lot of that throughout. We know that her mom gets really aggressive with her sometimes and gets angry, and all kinds of stuff, all right? So that's why we know it is third person omniscient, because we know every character's thoughts and feelings, as opposed to, excuse me, third person limited, where it would just be a select person's thoughts and feelings. Really good job, ladies and gents. So we have about a little over 10 minutes left. All right. So what I will do is, in the chat, I will put the link to the Nearpod video and questions. And again, the video is just kind of the audio recording, the audio book recording of the first chapter, and then there's some questions that go along with that. All right. If you have still not completed those questions, this is some time for you to catch up on that. That is what I looked at for the progress report that's going to come out tomorrow. So if you didn't have them complete by Friday, then I didn't have them on the progress report. But if you want to, if you're still trying to get caught up, like they still have to be finished, in general, to be all caught up at the end. So now is a good time to do that. And also, if you still haven't submitted your family tree, that's the other thing that that I looked at for progress reports that was due. So the Nearpod questions, which you can find at that link that I just put in the chat. Also, your family tree. And then Friday, when we come back to class, we're going to start looking at checkpoint 1. Okay?
Okay. When I went back to my Nearpod and tried to finish my question, it started me all over. Like I never answered none of the questions.
So the video might start from the beginning, Salam, but you can jump to the actual questions if you just click on those little dots. Here, I'll show you. Share my screen.
I think I did try that.
If it did, then I will have to check that out, because it's not supposed to. Okay.
Like the first box question was empty. Then I wound up typing another answer that I didn't type the first time when I put the answer in.
Gotcha. So you're saying you came back to it again and it started you at the beginning of here, and you weren't able to just click on the dot and answer and go right to the question? Or you could, but it didn't save what you did the last time.
Yep, it didn't say what I said the last time.
Okay, I will check that out and see if there's a way to fix that. But if you want to go back and just jump to, if there's still questions that you haven't done and you want to jump to those.
Can you see my name is on that right there for the first one?
What's up?
Don't you know how you can see who answered it?
I have them hidden right now just because I'm sharing my screen, but I can see them if I want to. Yes. Do you want me? Do you want me to check if yours is there?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It might be too low for me.
I can do that real quick. Give me a sec. Yeah. So I do have one from you for the first question, Salam.
Okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So that might help you out. I don't have one from you for, I think, any of the other questions, though.
Yeah, I didn't get to those.
All right, cool. Yeah, so, but it did save the one you did for the first question. All right.
All right, thank you.
All right, so again, ladies and gents, if you still haven't done the Nearpod, you can click that link and do that. If you're still working on your family tree, don't forget to send me that. All right. If you've done both of those things, then you are good to go for today. All right, I'm going to stay in the chat for about another 10 minutes. And if you want to work on any of those two things in here in the chat and ask me questions, that's fine. If you are done with those two things, then you're good to go. If you want to jump out of the chat, work on it, kind of offline, and then come check back in at 10:25, that's fine too. And then, like I said, we'll come back on Friday and we'll start digging into checkpoint 1, where we're looking at and kind of taking notes on the point of view of each section of the book. All right. So I'm going to put myself on mute and stay in the chat. If you guys want to work on the Nearpod to get caught up or whatever you need, feel free. If you have a question, just give me a shout. And then in about like 10 minutes or so, I'll kind of wrap everything up. All right. Good job today.